is Usha, and today I'll be sharing with you a few yoga exercises you can do all throughout your pregnancy that will help to open up the hips and reduce low back pain and any discomfort you have in the pelvis. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated position. It can be helpful to sit up on a blanket so that your hips are elevated a little bit. This can help to relax your knees and your thighs. And you want to sit up nice and tall and close your eyes. And just start to deepen your breath. So let's take one hand over the low belly and one hand over your heart. Just using this touch to deepen your connection with your body and deepen the awareness you have of your breath moving in your body. As you inhale, feel the breath rising into your hands, breathing all the way into your low belly. And as you exhale, let any tension melt out of your shoulders, out of your back, out of your hips. Take another deep inhalation, expanding into the belly and the low back. And as you exhale, relax the face and just let the body soften. Inhaling deeply into the belly. See if you can bring some awareness into the low back, feeling expansive and spacious just with the breath alone. And exhaling completely. As you exhale, pull your belly in, just using some of those transverse muscles in your belly. Inhaling, deep breath, stack the breath from the bottom all the way up to the top, filling completely. And exhale, using your exhalation as a release, releasing tension and stress. One more deep breath. And a long exhale. All right, you can open your eyes. And we'll come onto the hands and knees. So just take your time getting there. You want to position your knees under your hips and at least hip distance apart or more. Take your hands underneath your shoulders. Spread your fingers wide. And we're going to start with a basic cat-cow motion. So on an inhale, your belly lowers towards the floor. You arch the back and look up. Pull the shoulders and arm bones back. As you exhale, tuck the chin to the chest, tuck the tailbone under, round the back, and press away from the floor. Moving with the breath. Inhale, open through the chest, lift your gaze, and exhale, press the floor away and round the back. We'll do this motion 3 more times, inhaling into cow, deep breath into the chest. Exhale all the breath out as you pull the belly up and in and breathe out of the low back and spine. Inhale, opening through the front body here, opening the front of the spine. And as we exhale, we stretch the back. Breathe the back of the heart open. One more. Inhaling, opening the chest. Lift the gaze. Exhale. Release the back of the neck, around the back. So on an inhale, we'll come to a flat back. Lengthen the spine forward through the crown of the head and back through the tailbone. And we'll stretch the chest open by walking the hands forward. Let the forehead come to the floor. Let the heart drip towards the ground. Press into the hands. And just breathe here, stretching through the side body. Lift the belly towards the spine and lengthen the tailbone towards your heels to protect the low back. Take one more deep breath here in Anahatasana or puppy pose. And then walk your hands back and underneath the shoulders. From this position, stretch your right leg back, reach through the right leg, and we'll take this right foot to the outside of the right hand. Turn your toes slightly out, and we'll take the hips into a circular motion. You can come onto your fingertips or make fists with your hands. You can also use blocks here underneath your hands to get a little bit more spaciousness through the heart and the torso. And I invite you to close your eyes here and just breathe into the sensation of your hips as you start to warm up the hip socket, the thighs, beginning to stretch and open through the pelvis. Bring your awareness to your breath here, and we'll switch directions. Just reverse your circle. You can make your circle small or large, but really explore the range of motion and be curious about whatever sensation is arising. One more deep breath with this motion. And from here, pivot on your left knee and slide your left heel underneath your hips. Walk your hands to your left, and you'll start to lower your hips to the floor, coming into a half squat. So in this position, you can rock your hips a little bit side to side, or just be still. You can stay on your hands, you can keep your hips lifted, but if you have the space to come all the way down, you can rest into this pose. You can bring the elbows onto the floor. And you're going to stay here for about 5 breaths. And I'm just going to turn around so you can see it from the other angle. So you can also play with moving your right knee away from your right shoulder, and that will deepen the stretch in the inner thigh. And you're breathing deeply, bringing awareness into a nice spacious pelvis. And slowly we'll release, coming back onto the hands. Lift the hips. Point the left toes back to the back of your mat, hands back at the top of your mat, and you'll just step the right leg back. Repositioning into your hands and knees position with the wrists under the shoulders and knees under the hips. And we'll take both of the hips, the whole body now, into some full circles. Exploring a range of motion. You can take a little circle or a nice big expansive circle. And we'll switch directions. And coming back to center. Lengthen through the sides of the body from hip to shoulder, belly lifted towards the spine. Extend back through your left leg, reaching through that left leg, and then step your left foot forward to the outside of your left hand. Toes slightly turned out. And once again, we'll close the eyes and circle the hips, seeking to find a nice fluid, easeful motion. And this motion is very soothing for the body, for the nervous system, and for your baby. It's an excellent motion to do during labor. It really helps to open and ease the hips and the low back. Switch directions. Make sure there's no tension anywhere in the neck or the face. And from here, pivoting on the right knee, bring the right heel underneath the hips and slowly sink down into your squat. You can lower the forearms to the floor if you have space for that, or just stay on the hands. Relax your head and deep breaths. Breathe into the low back, breathe into the hips. And close the eyes. And let yourself rest into spaciousness. 2 more deep breaths. And we'll come back onto the hands. Walk your hands back to the top of your mat. Gently step your left leg back. And once again, we'll just take some easy hip circles. And keeping the spine open. You can dance the shoulder blades on the back. Switch directions. And from here, separate your knees even wider apart. Untuck your toes. Stretch your hips back to your heels for child's pose. Once you're here, walk your hands forward and get a nice stretch through the sides of the body. Let your heart come towards the floor and your forehead rest on the ground. Let your hips be heavy, so you're stretching through the low back, lengthening the tailbone towards your heels. Breathe into the low back and the sides of the body. One more deep breath. And then slowly release, coming back onto the hands and knees. And from here, we'll come into a seat. And bring the soles of your feet together. Knees are bent. You can start to bring your heels in closer to your groin. And sit up nice and tall. So anytime you're in a seated position, if you feel like you're rolling onto your tailbone and rounding in the low back, that's a good indication that you would benefit from taking a blanket rolled up underneath your hips. Because you want to rock forward a little bit so you're sitting on your sit bones. Once you're here, go ahead and lengthen up through the spine. Take a deep breath in. Press the feet together, and as you exhale, lean forward, maybe just a little bit until you feel a nice stretch in the groin here. You can relax your eyes, relax your face, relax your shoulders. And just let yourself rest and breathe into this nice groin stretch. Pressing the feet together, letting your thighs and your knees be assisted by gravity, just allowing them to soften towards the earth. You can relax the back of your neck by tucking your chin ever so slightly towards the chest. And take 2 more deep breaths. And slowly rise up. Take your hands behind you. Take the soles of your feet onto the floor. And we're going to lie down on the back. So assist yourself by coming onto your elbows. And from here we'll move into what's called the happy baby pose. So you're lying all the way on your back. Back of your head on the ground. You're going to separate your knees wide apart and draw the knees in towards the chest. Once you have this position, you'll add your feet towards the sky. You can either wrap your hands around the back of your thighs, take your hands to your ankles, or maybe even grab the outside edges of your feet. This is a nice deep stretch for the pelvis, and it's also nice and soothing for the low back. Some of you might find it's nice to rock a little bit here, side to side. And that's optional. You can also get a nice stretch for your inner thigh by stretching one of your legs straight, one at a time, and just playing with that motion, stretching the legs. Two more breaths. release your feet. Soles of your feet back to the floor. Keep your feet spread wider than hip distance apart. You can take your arms out to the side and we'll just rock the knees from side to side like windshield wipers of a car. And as you rock your knees from side to side, you can lift your hips up a little bit off the floor. You should feel a nice stretch through the hip flexor in the front of the thigh. And from here we'll move into a nice pose for the glutes, the butt muscles. So we'll start by planting the feet firmly on the floor and take your right ankle just above the knee onto the thigh with the right foot flexed. Depending on the size of your belly here, you can start to bring your left knee towards you, and maybe your hands can reach around the back of the thigh or around the shin. And if they don't quite reach, if your belly's too big or you can't reach as far, you can use a strap around the thigh to hold on to. Relax your left foot. Keep your right foot flexed to protect the knee. And to deepen this pose, think about moving the right knee further away from your shoulder as you draw in closer to the torso with the left leg. So you should feel a nice stretch through the outer right thigh here. And you can do this pose sitting in a chair, leaning forward. We can even do this pose standing up. Take 2 more breaths. And then release both feet back to the floor. And we'll just switch sides. Take the left ankle on top of the thigh, just above the knee. Keep your left foot flexed. Take your left hand between the thighs and reach to grab onto something, either using the strap or grabbing hold around the back of the thigh. You can keep your right leg relaxed here. Your left foot stays flexed and the left knee is softening away from the body as you draw the right knee towards you. Take 2 more deep breaths, bringing awareness into your glutes, into your hips, and into the low back. And then you can slowly release both of the knees, both of the feet to the floor. And from here we'll just come into a side lying resting position. So roll over onto your left side, take your left arm underneath your head, knees stay bent. You can close the eyes and just rest for a few moments here. This will complete our practice. You can stay resting and side lying for a few more minutes and just notice your breathing. And when you're ready to come up, use your hands for support, coming up nice and slow, with as little effort as necessary. So thank you for practicing with me today. You can come back to this practice every day. It's great for the low back and hips. And I look forward to practicing with you again. Thanks. Namaste.